the moment in your life when you realize that chaos is simply a divine exercise of God's. The purpose of the chaos is to bring you to a place of reality, a place of clarity, a place of identification. Religion sells the lie that when you become a part of their belief system, that all the problems of your life vanish. And it's not always a lie that's a spoken lie, it's unspoken. But this is no further from the truth that when you join a gang, you're safe and all of your problems are left behind. You must remember that chaos is ground zero for creation. That's why it's the exercise of the gods. Oh, it's the truth. We serve a God of promises. He tells the end from the beginning, but the part that we don't understand or the part that we don't realize yet is the process. There's got to be enough fight in you to get to the promise. Now I'm gonna tell you something that's wild. Good morning, y'all. I don't think y'all heard nothing I said. I was not paying attention to the sidebar over here, which I must pay attention to because I would see that there was nothing going on. But good morning to everybody. We're called to chaos. Can you believe that? I'm excited about this conversation this morning, particularly because before we got on this live this morning, there was so much going on. There was such a chaotic thing going on right before it was time to log in. I couldn't get something to stop on the browser. It was just crazy, but I love it because it's a detail or it's an announcement of something great that's going to happen. And I'll tell you further why I think that's so absolutely amazing that chaos broke out before the broadcast. But my brother Apostle Ace is on with me. We're going to have this conversation regarding Genesis 14 and 15. In some parts, I may get a little more deep. I'm just going to give you the parts that he gave me this morning, but I really want, there's some pieces that I really want to delve into. And I don't know if he's going to let me delve completely into those this morning, but if not, there'll probably be a part two. Y'all know I love part twos because I like to kind of go a little deeper into the conversation, but the fighting you, that's important. We're going to talk about this stuff. And I pray my brother has some things to share with you based on some of the things we opened up with. Those things are so important. I pray you guys are writing them down because I believe that the Father's going to allow you to pull back more layers of the things that he gives me before these broadcasts start. That little intro part where I'm sharing those things that he's brought into my spirit, I believe those things are really going to bless us. All right. My brother Apostle Ace is on this morning. Listen, shalom, holy shalom to everybody. And yes, we know that the Sabbath was yesterday, but we are gods of the Sabbath, lords of the Sabbath. And so the Sabbath is a daily thing for us. The Father's bringing us into complete Sabbath. And so I rested yesterday, literally rested. I was tired. And I'm just going to be real with you. But we're going to still have this conversation, though. But this conversation, we're going to have this conversation. Shalom to the people of Yah and shalom to my brother Apostle Ace. Hey, brother.
Well, shalom and glorious grand rising to you, sister. How are you? Good to
I
be with
feel
you this
absolutely galactic.
morning.
I promise you,
Yes,
I'm
and
galactic.
shalom, and shalom to all those who are listening at this time. And want to say it's a plump, pleasing pleasure to be with you on this day. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. I promise you.
Yeah,
Brother, what's your
yeah.
thoughts on this opening, on some of these conversations that I was having at the beginning?
Well, it is something, and as I listen and there's something as I see this that Yah created chaos.
Yeah, it is.
Get into the origin of where chaos began because chaos is a part of our life.
It is.
It really is, and so because chaos is created in the shift of things.
It is.
Like you said, we going through to get to the promise.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I think about chaos, my thoughts even always go back to Genesis, like in the opening, like you said that you get the ending from the beginning, and
Yes.
and so when you begin to understand the ending, you really got the beginning because they're synonymous with one another. The ending is the beginning, and the beginning is the ending because there's no end.
That's it. That's it.
But when I think about what I and I'm in a place today is much laughter, much joy, and
Me too.
I'm there. I'm just there. And
Me
so when
too.
I think about what you were saying in the opening, the chaos, that in the very beginning, Genesis chapter 1,
Mm-hmm.
and so hearing and listening to Yah, the fifth verse of the first chapter, and he says, "And Yah called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and the evening and the morning
We're the
were the
first.
first day."
Yes.
But see, so when I think about what brings day and what brings night is evening and morning.
Mm-hmm.
So we see this this divine shift without a sun, without a physical sun, and without a moon.
Disruption. Mhm.
Disruption. So therefore, there is. He says here you're coming out of dark, coming out from day. Coming here's the evening, and then there's the morning. So I'm coming out of day because there was a point when we say in the evening and the morning. So evening was we see evening first because everything was morning. It was light or it was dark, but yet we're coming out of a place that says here is divine order that's taking place. Here is work that must be done
Mm-hmm.
because when the nighttime comes, no man can work. However, here's this
Yes.
shift that says evening because we're coming out of work. Because we see the first day, but we see what Yah has done. We see the work that was done on the first day of creation, what took place. Then he says the evening and the morning, letting us know the evening we come. His work is day. Everything that Yah
Yeah.
does is about day. It's about brightness. It's about the. He said, and the evening and the
Light.
morning it was the first day. So now he
Yes.
transitioned from day into night because there had to be a separation. There had to be a
Yeah.
separation. So evening and morning is a separation because number one, light and dark cannot occupy the same space anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Cannot. Excuse me. So now here's the separation. So when the separation takes place, it's a shift that creates chaos. You're coming out of
Mm-hmm.
something into, and then so when the nighttime comes, it's like okay, no man can work. So now here's a
Mm-hmm.
rest period. But morning says, morning says I'm coming out of night into the day. Because it's interesting, sis, because here's this chaos. And so I'm going to revert to, here's the word. We say it all the time, but we don't get it. You know, weeping may endure for the night,
Come on.
but joy
Come on.
come in the chaos.
Come on. Come on.
See, and they ain't talking,
It comes out of that chaos.
it comes,
Joy is coming out of that.
right. See, my joy is not when I'm out of the chaos. My joy is when I'm in the in process.
That's it. Let's
Because
count it all joy.
absolutely, in the chaos, for the joy of
Yes.
Yah is my
That's right.
strength. So I have to have
Yes.
this strength in the process of the shift of the chaos. I have to have this
Yes.
trust and faith because now I know that when I get to the light, I've reached the promised land. Each day that we
Come on.
wake up and we see the brightness of the day, we've reached the promise. See, the people don't
Yes.
understand that these promises, we got different cycles of promises, that's
Yes.
already in place. It's a promise that we see every day, but don't realize it's a promise because we
Yes.
come out of night into the morning, but our joy lets us know weeping may. During the nighttime, there's darkness. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, darkness,
I
I,
will
I
fear.
will fear no evil because you are with me. My joy in you is my strength. So
Yes.
into when I come out of this, I reach the promise because you said, here's the promise. So
Yes.
he in the process of this chaos, what is happening with me? What is happening to me? In the process of this shifting, is faith being
Mm.
developed during the shift? What is going
Come on.
on in the process of this chaos? Because there's development in chaos. You're talking about fight. There's fight in chaos. Because as we had brief discussion, because understand this that the faith is so important in the process of the chaos. It is.
Mm.
But understand we see where our faith is and what's happening because faith, you don't see it, but you got to know that it's there. So we gotta have
Uh-huh.
that faith and that trust that says, Yah said, I'm gonna test your faith. I'm gonna see where you're at. Because what faith does put you here we are in chaos, and here's faith and says, now have faith in me in the chaos. But what does faith says? Faith says it's blind faith. So it puts us it puts stress on us. Faith puts stress on us. Faith put us in a fight or flight mood position. We going through. We physically can't handle it and what have you. But it's development. It's bringing about character. So when we get to the promise, it's knowing faith. And so many of us is caught up in the process of the chaos and ain't came out yet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Come on.
Because
Uh, uh,
people still crying. Oh my goodness! It's nighttime. But we got all this chaos. Why? But you got to understand, He's created chaos on every molecular area in our life, physically, spiritually, emotionally.
yeah.
When we come into this world, He creates chaos on every level in our lives. When we are born
Yes.
into this world, we born in as infants. Then we go from
Mm-hmm.
infants to toddler. And since you got to help me out,
Mm-hmm.
we go from toddlers to what? Adolescents. I think
Mm-hmm.
then adolescents, we go into the preteens and then the teen. Every time we go into a different phase in life, there's a shift. What we don't know is, and we haven't really, because they haven't given us we see the chaos in our children. Their parents see the chaos in us when we went from infants to toddlers. And
That's right.
when we go from infants to toddler, we don't realize that shift and the chaos and the craziness that we go through in the shift to get to the next phase in our lives.
Yes.
And so when we do that, sis, when we do that, we see the response, we see the fruit of the chaos. We see it, and we like,
Yep.
those kids that I don't know what's wrong. They just going. I don't understand. You be saying, what the
Facts.
devil, and then
What's
and all
going
the
on
kids,
here?
and so when we in the process of the chaos, the shift is how we are trained, how we are dealt with in the chaos, because when we come out of chaos, when we come into the next phase, then we see the results of what we didn't go through when we come out the same out of that next phase, out of the phase and into the next
That's right.
phase. We see it, and it
That's right.
begin to fortify within us how we came out of this chaos. Did we come? Are we coming out
Mm-hmm.
with lack of faith? Because when we get into the next phase, we'll see maturity. Are we maturing in the next phase? Because
Mm-hmm.
here we get to the when we transition into teenage life. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
goodness.
Lord.
Folks, you know
Mm-hmm.
everything. You can't tell me nothing. I know more than you. I'm only been here 13 years, but I know more than you. You've been here 45 years. You don't understand. You don't understand what I'm going through. Nobody understands what I'm
Wow.
going through. That's I understand that because when teenagers begin to say, female, because young men do the same thing, and we see the fruit of it because a lot of them commit suicide. Nobody understand, and so when they get into the next phase, because you say you're crazy, you're crazy.
Yeah.
And all that is because we don't recognize that the shift is important to get to the next phase. And so the next
It is
phase is always
transition.
the promise. How we coming out of this?
Oh my.
How we look when we come out of this.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
so so here's the origin, the foundation of this chaos. And so when I look into the word and what have you, he always he's talking about here's the promise. People say, I want the promise, I'm getting to the promise. But wait a minute. Okay, now you want to I gotta get you to go through this. Here's the shift. Here's the shift. Because the shift
Mm.
creates chaos. And so when I began to get this, when I really began to get this, my whole life began to settle
Mm.
down so much. I wasn't in a fight or
Come on.
flight mode. I wasn't scared. I
Correct.
wasn't operating in fear because I know that Yah himself in his promise. He said, you coming
Yes.
out of this. You coming out of this. And when you come, because no matter what, we coming out. When we come out, how are we
Yes.
when we come out?
Mm-hmm.
Am I coming out of this with no faith? Am I coming out of this with little faith? Am I coming out this with it's something to see a grown person that's stuck and they still haven't reached their promise, and
Come on now.
you see the immaturity, and what have you, not based upon sometime, I want to be like this. It's because we don't understand the beginning. And because of that,
Mm-hmm.
we perpetually, we look at things this is the way it's supposed to be. If you don't go through if you don't go like this, it ain't gonna be done. Some people, they're still looking for the promise. Looking for the
Mm-hmm.
promise. And listen, people ready to get out of here to go be raptured up into heaven, and y'all say, but here's my promise.
Yeah.
So why you want to be taken out of a place and
A promise.
of a promise, and he said, "I'm gonna give you rulership. I'm not destroying
Huh?
the earth. I'm gonna give you rulership."
Let's start there. Let's start there.
Uh,
I'm not destroying it.
right? No,
I'm not gonna get rid of it. I'm not gonna get rid of it. Okay.
no.
It's here.
Yeah, so that chaos and people, because chaos It's a pushback. It's pushing on you. It's that seed that just because chaos deals with the mind.
Yes, it does.
It
Yes,
deals
it
with the
does.
mind because the mind is going through. Then you see the body react to what the mind is doing.
Mm-hmm.
Because the body is the expression of the mind. So
Yes.
I can, it's for some of us, we know that where people are in chaos because we see the body is responding. They respond to what the mind says.
Absolutely.
A double-minded person is unstable in all his ways. So when I'm talking about
Stability.
double, just you're unstable. You hear you're not settled. You don't have one mind, and
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of chaos. There's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
chaos and confusion on different levels. See, y'all
Yeah.
let us know that here's chaos, but I've created this chaos, and the chaos can be very good for you because it's taking you on a journey. What are you
Oh,
going?
it's
What
so
what
good.
is it going to be like when you come out on the other end? Are you going to die in the
Yeah.
chaos through disobedience? Are you going to?
Uh-oh.
Come on now.
Uh-oh.
Are you going to operate in death in the ship? Sickness, disease, all this stuff in the midst. Are you going to be rebellious in the chaos? Or are you going to have some joy? What are you saying? What your speech is important in the midst of the chaos. Your joy
Oh my
in
God.
Yahweh is your strength. This is how Yahweh say, I know this is my strength in him because I trust in him in
Yeah.
this chaos. And because you trust in him, he said, listen, I got you. I got you. Because when you come out, I'm going to give you everything. I'm going to take you right back to the beginning and give you everything that you didn't came out of. It's
Mm-hmm.
yours.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Yes.
those are some of my thoughts.
All right, teacher, teach this morning.
Oh,
He
you said,
he went off.
oh my
Brother
goodness.
Latronic. And another thing. I
Oh,
love it. I love it. I see my little brother Rio in the room. I love you, Rio. Love you, Elder Vicky. Good morning, and all those that are in the room. Good morning to you. Go ahead and invite somebody as we share this conversation. Man, this is such an amazing conversation, and one of the reasons why I'm just going to kind of go off of some of the things you said first. Um, how you handle the shift determines the outcome. So you started talking about something that I think is really imperative. And by the way, when we get back to galactic prayer, our first prayer point, the first prayer dynamic is going to be that of the family because the Father's really been impressing some things upon me concerning that. But you talked about quite a few things. And I always go back to the beginning. And it's so important that people understand this. And Elder Vicky and I, we had a conversation briefly about some things yesterday. Understanding the foundation of things is so imperative. If you don't have foundation, you can't build nothing. Okay. So when we think about this, you use the life of the teenager. When we think about the life of the transitions, first of all, that we go through as young people, and we think about this place that people arrive at where they are in this space where they feel like they know everything, then people don't understand and blah, blah, blah. And the reason why a lot of times people function that way is because a lot of times people that are senior to these situations don't reveal themselves. They're not sharing their enemies so that the children understand the enemies that they're going to be challenged with. They're not sharing those things because it reveals who they were. May not be who you are anymore, but you're going to have to reveal who you were so that you can help that child along their journey to understand its enemies. My daughter and I were talking yesterday as well. I think it was yesterday or the day before yesterday. And it came back up to her something that I used to tell my children as young people because someone said to her something about this enemy hating her. And I said, do you remember what I used to tell you guys when you were little? And the words that I used to give them were, the adversary hates you. He will never be your friend. And he hates you because of who you were born to. He hates you. This is a legacy of hatred, for the seed in my generations. So he's never going to be your friend. You can never partner up with him to do anything and think that because you're partnering up with him that y'all are cool. It's never going to be that, because he already knows what you came out of. He already knows what this is. You understand what I'm saying? And so when they get to that place where they say, well, you don't understand, I think it's so imperative that we understand that the determination of those outcomes is how we handle their shifts. There are going to be shifts. People say, oh, well, this kid is losing or this kid is crazy. No, they're undergoing shifts, and their shifts that they're undergoing are based on their environments and the things that they're being challenged with. So when we think about that, so what do I have to do with Abraham and the call to chaos? Same thing. You got to understand that he came out of an idolatrous household. He came out of a space, but he also had a legacy or a lineage of those who trusted and believed in Yah. So he had to make a decision. Guess what? Both of those were put in front of him. There was no hiding any of it. His great grandfather Noah did not hide from him who he was and who he was connected to. Okay? His forefather didn't hide that. And neither did his father hide from him his idolatrous ways. Okay? So he had to make a decision. The problem is that most children can't make a decision because people are so busy trying to put up the front. They're never showing their true selves, right? So Abraham had an advantage because he could see both sides of that fence and he could make a decision based on the information that was given. But if you were like me, you grew up and you begin to identify things and you're like, this ain't adding up with that. And one of the things I was struggling with the title this morning because one of the things that I wanted to deal with was this ain't adding up. Listen, this ain't adding up. You get to a place wait a minute, something is off. I'm looking at this, I'm looking at that, and you start trying to put things together. I'm going to tell you something. I'm just going to say this because this is really important for how you guys study the word and how you study anything. If you want your brain to operate on the level of genius, which is how you were born to operate, because Adam didn't have all the issues that we have now. They talking about you only using 10% of your brain and all this, and y'all fall into all of that. No,
That's good.
there are
That's good. That's good. That's good.
don't become geniuses because they were born that way. They have a system.
Mm.
There are systems that were shut down a long time ago so that they could create their system of education that brings people into a place of servitude and slavery to corporations, right? I'm not trying to go here, but understand this. What you got to do is you got to begin to see the patterns and things. I'm talking to y'all all the time about mind movies and all this kind of stuff. When I tell you, just think back. Have a quick mind movie. The Father gave me these concepts a long time ago, and y'all heard me talk about this throughout the years. But mind movies are important because you got to see in movement. You've got to see in imagery. You've got to see graphically, not just in writing, not just, trying to memorize stuff and all. See, you're doing this from the wrong place. If you go back to your original setting, you'll understand that how you are triggered, how your genius is triggered, how your brain operates. It's not a place for storage. Your brain is not a storage place. Okay? It's a computer. It's supposed to process systems. So this is why, you give kids puzzles at an early age, right? This is why people are intrigued by crossword puzzles and all that stuff, because your brain is looking for patterns. Hear what I'm saying to you? Your brain is looking for patterns because in it finding the patterns, that's how you recall things, because you connect the thing that you're dealing with to something that you already know, something that you're already familiar with. This is why I use examples the way I use examples to help you identify and to recall the thing or the revelation that the Father is revealing to you so that you can begin to connect the dots. You're going about it the wrong way. You're trying to memorize. You're trying to do all these things that they taught you in a system that was built to make slaves. But what you have to do is, in order to get back to the original setting, is to begin to see in images. And that's the thing that the adversary tries to keep that kind of knowledge away from people, because if he can just get you in a cycle of memorization, then you'll think, oh, I'm not smart. Oh, I'm failing. I failed and I didn't. No, it's just you failed. Guess what? Can I give you? You failed because you wasn't built for that kind of system. You didn't. You wasn't set up like everybody else was set up, and you thought that that was a disservice to you because they got A's and B's and C's. That don't mean nothing. They were good book students, but they're idiots in life. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Lots of book smart people are idiots in real life because they don't have the system, that other setup where you have that place where you have to think through things, where you have to have thought. See, that system was built to make you not think about anything outside of what they were giving you to think about. But when you think about stuff outside of what you're given to think about, that's where true genius is marked. I don't know. That was just, I don't know. I needed to throw that out there. I didn't have that written down anywhere, but the Father wanted me to share that with you because a lot of people think that they don't have the capacity to become because they're looking at other people as a measurement, but everybody has their own measure. You understand what I'm saying? That's the first thing. To each man is given a measure, okay? Their own measure. So yes, you can attain to some places that the person that you're looking at as a measure has attained to, but you got to understand something. Even the Mashiach said even greater works. So if you are using me as your measurement, as your leader, that's wonderful, but you ought to be attaining to even greater because I'm releasing what's being revealed, and then you ought to take what's being revealed and go even further past what I've given you. You have the capacity. You're just not tapping into it. So all of the chaos that surrounds all of the things that you think about yourself, the reason why the outcomes are what they are. This is why. How we handle the shift determines the outcome. And brother, you said this. You also said that speech is imperative. And guess what? We are speaking spirits. This is a part of us as creative beings or creative beings, created beings and creative beings. We are co-creators. So speech is a part of creation. If you go back to the beginning and you look at the chaos that was in the earth, the word of Yah declares by Moshe's writing, who was not even in this beginning. I just want to throw that out there. He was not even there. Okay. He was prophetically inspired by the oracle of Yah. The word says, without a oracle, without a vision, the people perish. Why? Because you don't have anything to go by. You don't have a foundation. You don't have a basis for building. He was given this information that in the chaos, the spirit of Yah begins to hover over the chaotic space and to declare something. These are things that we're missing as it pertains to the family. And we're going to look at some things today as we see this call to chaos where Abram, before his name is changed, is called out of Ur the Chaldees, and he's called into this place of the unknown. He doesn't even know where he's going. I should say he don't even really know the directions. He's not being given a GPS. He's been given a divine outcome with no GPS. Are you hearing me? But he agrees with Yah. He says, okay, let's go. Let's do that. He leaves. But the things that happen in his process, most people would say, oh my God, I can't do this. And it made me think about the children of Israel, where their response was, you brought us out here to kill us. That could have literally been Abram's response. You brought me out here. You talking about you're going to make me a father of many nations. You got to think about these things. His name meant father of nations. Who he was born to be was a father of nations, yet he had no fruit to prove the promise. What do you do when you don't see fruit to prove a promise? Do you deem Yah a liar? Or do you by faith realize who you're dealing with and his capacity to know that the reason why he's speaking bigger than what you can accomplish is because he knows you need him in order to fulfill it? Brother, I'm going to let it go for a minute and let you say something.
Ooh-wee. That's good. Listen, the breakfast table is I'm doing some good eating here. Oh my goodness. I don't know about y'all. I don't know about y'all that's there, that's tuning in. This is some good eating. I'm enjoying this. This is a good breakfast. But anyway, but yeah, it's saying so much, just like at the table. What do I get? Do I get this? Do I eat that? Do I chew on this for a minute? Do I chew on that for a minute? But yes, it is something when as you were talking a little bit earlier, I'm thinking about uh, in the cage, outside the cage, and the brilliancy of our mind, that
Mm,
we're all geniuses, and how in the system, how they curtail and capture the imagine, and it's something that they do now in
mhm.
marketing. I saw it years ago, that how it began to shift to young people,
Mhm.
younger and younger, because they wanted that imagination that was unlimited. You talk about the old corporate heads and folks, that we do it this way, it is structured this way, and what have you, until somebody got the idea, because they began to look at the mind of young people,
Yes.
and how they put all kind of stuff together, but it attracts people.
Yes.
It attracts, and so they say, "Oh, we need this mind. We need to give you some pills to unleash everything in your mind." And so we're going to go unleash your mind to imagine everything, but at the same time, we're going to control you in doing so, because we got a purpose of how we want to control you with your mindset. And
Yes.
so it's just interesting that how uh, we are uh, we are just in a system that's, and it goes back. We look at Yah. Everything Yah does is from right to left.
Mhm.
Everything from right to left. There's a right side of authority, right side. And I go back to even the beginning of the colonization of America through the
Come on.
United States. Okay,
Mhm.
and it's interesting because it's a scientific fact, studies and what have you, that when the United States began to colonize, the beginning of the Americas, of North America, one of the things that they had to vote on was language,
Come on now.
and Hebrew was second from English.
Mhm.
Okay, and it's interesting because when you look at English and what they taught, you got to understand what they did and how they began to process, because they wanted to be in opposition from where they came from right to left.
That's right.
They went from left to right
That's right.
in opposition. So when you go in opposition, it limits you in your imagination. It limits you in your faith. It
Come on.
brings you into fight or flight position. It does all of that because you're not in your natural habitat. You're
That's
not,
right.
not. It's not natural to you going from left to right, because when you was in school,
Come on.
most, and I can speak for us black folks, because of what they were doing. We would, we go to the back of the book, and they were teaching us to read from left to right, go from
Stood.
left to right instead of from right to left, because what happens is that's that shift. That's another shift that it begins to be chaotic in the brain.
Yeah.
It brings chaos in the mind, and so they begin to label us. From when we start, when we read from right to left. What do they call that? Dyslexic or something like
Yes.
that?
That's right. Yeah.
You're going from right to left, and so they begin to label children and begin to label us that something is wrong. And I begin to like, wait a minute, why are we struggling? And here, so we go back to the origin of things, because now here's this shift that's taking place in the brain that they intentionally
Come
done,
on. Come on.
intentionally, to bring you to a place of not authority, of knowing who you are and how to operate.
That's it.
That's that's intentionally. And
Intentional.
so as they did that, it was hard for us to write from left to right.
Yeah.
Because they had teachers, because everything that we naturally did was from right to left, coming into the what he's given us from right to left. And so when they did that, so now we're going from left to right, not knowing it's creating chaos. Here's that chaos, that shift. And it said, computer don't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't compute. Doesn't compute. It doesn't compute. And so we begin to be labeled in that shift, disruptive, combative. All these things don't pay attention and all like that. Your attention span, all that has taken place because they decided you're gonna go from left to right. And so I began to early on in ministry, I began to teach that. Said, listen, nothing's wrong with you. Tell the parent,
Nothing.
you nothing's wrong with them because understand. I said, well, then Yahweh is dyslexic.
Period.
Period. And they
He's
said, huh? I said, because here he is from right to left,
Yep.
and we going from left to right.
Come on. Come on now.
so so now we are in a more chaotic situation of trying to learn and try, and we going through different phases in life, going in rebellion and
Yeah.
opposition in
To the
all this.
system.
It says.
Come on. Come on.
And so when we get to that place and we like, what in the world? So they've done scientific research on those who are Eastern, that go from right to left,
Yep.
opposed to left to right. And
Mm-hmm.
those who go from right to left are brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting that how from left to right, and how we are imprisoned in our mind. It's proven. It's proven. And so they got into, let's give them more language, teach them language, not
Mm-hmm.
to us. We didn't get it. We didn't get that language right like that. So there were others who was getting language going from right to left
Mm-hmm.
and easily become, oh, they're brilliant. They're geniuses. And, oh my goodness. And we looking and comparing like, I ain't gonna, just like this and what have you. Because we've been labeled, we've been in prison, and
Yep.
yet we in prison going through this journey, and we trying to understand the Father, Yah, and what have you, and we like, listen, and so now we put ourselves in a position we don't have the faith. We
That's
don't
it.
have faith. We
That's
don't
it.
have faith, because we have. They did this from the beginning. If Yah said it from right to left, and He created us, and we come, everything is right to left. Why don't we? And understand this from to this day. And they labeled me dyslexic. I said, well, then okay, then Yahweh is dyslexic, so I do go from right to left.
I
I
did see.
do read numbers. I do read numbers from right to left, but I remember them.
Mm-hmm. Patterns.
They, patterns.
Everything is
There
based
you
on
go.
patterns.
And I can remember, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And I
Mm.
can see the end in the beginning.
That's it. That's it. Now understand, we
So
ain't playing this. We stuck on the youth this morning for a reason, and we're going to get into the rest of this lesson. But right now, we're going to stay where the Father put us, because as you were talking, I was thinking about the fact that where we've gone wrong with the youth, right? Because I wrote this in the comment section. I don't have a beef with the I don't like school brigade. I didn't like school, but I got A's and B's. I didn't like it though. But then there are kids who really hate it. You know what I'm saying? Like I understand that. But instead of identifying who they are, removing them from a system that they are, I'm talking about just vehemently opposed to. See, there are areas, good morning, Brother Anthony, Minister Anthony. There are areas where we should be paying attention to the seed, and there are areas where we need to assert dominance. You know what I'm saying? And we taking dominion to a whole nother level. We're not paying attention. You know, that first day of school when you took your child to the school and they hollered, you thought they was just hollering because of just the separation. But the other part of that was environment. First of all, you're releasing me to strangers. You're releasing me to a system. Yeah, I don't know anything about this system, but you're comfortable with leaving me here. And you get those children who cried the first day, but they never stop crying every time you drop them off. Hey, brother, I see you, Eric. Blessings, brother. So we're not listening but instead of finding out who they really are, because a lot of parents don't take the time to know who their children are before they're born. That's something I guess you have to learn, but it's necessary to know that, because when you know what you're carrying, you'll know how to carry it, and you'll also understand how to rear what you're carrying, right? Mary got the message before she even conceived. This is what's getting ready to go down. This is what you're going to be carrying, and this is how you need to carry it. And this is what you're going to call it. And this is, so all of those things are important because it's something in a name, right? So important. Just like we were talking about, Abram is the father of nations and he ain't got no kids. So somebody would think that Yah is taunting him. Is Yah taunting him? He has no children. He's in his 90s, and now we're talking about, I'm about to make you a great nation, and I'm going to need children. I got all this stuff, and I don't have anybody to inherit this stuff but my servant Eleazar. Is this what we're doing? He said, nah, I'm not done with you. I'm not done with you. But here's the thing. Instead of identifying who the youth are, right, there's an allowance of this system of technology to steal their destiny. I've been telling people for years, take those devices out of their hands. I don't have a problem with them having access to something, but not without supervision and not without parameters. Because when you gave the device to them, when you're giving the device to your children, you are literally allowing technology to steal their destiny. The destiny is going to be stolen. The dream is going to be stolen. Their imagination is going to be captured. Brother, you mentioned this a little bit, a capturing of the imagination. And then what's left? Slavery. Because there is no genius left. There is nothing else, because they don't think outside of the box anymore. They think in the box that you gave them. You understand what I'm saying? So this is important. The father commandeered this whole broadcast to talk to the parents this morning, clearly, and I'm good with that. Let's read this opening. I hope y'all got that. I hope y'all got that, okay? Oh my God. Okay. So let's read the opening. And for those of you who are coming in late, please go back to the beginning so you can hear the beginning of the broadcast, because I believe it's going to bless you. Life is a continuous series of transitions, and we talked about this already. But at some point, we must stop merely enduring the transitions and start orchestrating them. You say, well, how do I do that? Because this is who you were born to be, not just somebody that's tossed by circumstances or situations, but one that creates circumstance and situation. Doesn't the word declare that from the heart flow the issues of life? So again, based on that heart-mind connection, based on who you are, how you think, how you're utilizing the essence of who you are, that's what your outcomes are going to look like. And the beautiful thing about this is that even though a lot of times, if you look at this from this perspective, you say, well, man, I wish I could go back in time, and I wish I'd known this back then, because I would be here and there. And the Father knew the way that you needed to take. He knew the process that you needed to endure and undergo, the chaos that needed to be created in order for you to become the person that he was calling you to become, to receive the blessing that he desires you to inherit and to embody in the earth. Okay, so let's look at this. I'm looking at the opening. I'm going back to the opening. I try not to discuss things while I'm reading the opening because it's so important. But okay, we never meant to be passive. We were never meant to be passive participants in the unfolding of our existence. We were designed to be creators, architects of destiny, wielders of divine authority. Chaos is not the enemy. It is the proving ground. It is the arena where the distinction is made between gods and mere men. And those of you are connected here, you know we talk about this all the time. Between those who remember their divine essence and those still trapped in the amnesia of earthly limitations. From the moment of your conception, this is what I want you to really clue in on right here. From the moment of your conception, the divine nature of Yah was sealed within you. Y'all know I talk about this often. That's that point where that light flashed. And a lot of people don't really talk about that conception piece, but it's a very important piece to discuss concerning conception, because it's what this is what the uh, deciphers the fact that this is an earthly situation and makes it a divine situation. It's the thing that makes it an eternal situation. It's the thing that makes it supernatural, not just a natural occurrence. Okay, so here we go. We go back to this. Um, there's a print. Okay, here we go. From the moment of your conception, the divine nature of Yah was sealed within you, like an ancient vault waiting to be unlocked. But not just anyone has the access code. How about that? There's a principle at work here, an unbreakable law that unlocking only occurs through authorized personnel. He gave some apostles, some prophets, some pastors, some teachers, some evangelists. Okay, this truth is reflected in earthly systems every day. No treasure is left unguarded. No vault opens without permission. The chaos you face is not designed to break you, but to refine you. It is the forge that purifies, the fire that reveals, the resistance that strengthens. The greatest battle is not external. I keep trying to bring this point home, but it's so important that we understand this, that your greatest battle in life is not going to be the thing that's outside of you. That's not your greatest battle, but internal. The war against embedded programming inherited through bloodline culture and unseen covenants that seek to keep you blind, bound, and powerless. You hearing me? But today is different. Hey, Prophet Deanna, I love you. Today is different. I'm telling y'all this now. I'm declaring it now. Today you confront the contradictions within. Today you're going to recognize that the adversary isn't just the storm outside, but the outdated software running in your mind. The call has already been placed on your life, and the time has come to upgrade your systems. That's why you're here this morning, to override the false narratives and to walk in the fullness of your divine purpose. I'm going to tell you right now that chaos is your invitation. Creation is the response that you're going to give it. And the whole of creation is waiting for you as a manifesting son of the Most High Yah to step into your true identity. Are you hearing what I'm saying to you this morning? That's the opening today, brother. Let's get to it.
Oh my, oh my. And you know, I love this. I love the Big
I
Bang.
do
I
too.
love the Big Bang Theory.
Come on, the Big Bang Theory. That is the true Big Bang Theory.
Right. I love it. But we see when he said, "Let there be light," you know,
Come on.
and then that process is it happens in creation, internal in the womb of a woman. I mean,
Come
it's
on.
there. He said, "Let there be light." And so when that process takes place, oh my goodness, that we don't see it because it's inside the temple, inside the
Come on.
the sanctuary. That light comes
Oh,
forth, and when that light comes, when that light comes, that's who we are. We come that we make that transition from a heavenly place into the womb. That light is us, and that light hits the natural part, the egg, the sperm, and it connects just like that.
come
Soon
on.
as that egg hit, that sperm get that egg, and that light comes, boom, at same time when it connects.
Come on.
Life begins. Life begins
Supernatural.
right there. The Big Bang, absolutely. Then the process, then that process begins to take place. And so
Yes.
when that process, the cocooning, has come to an end, then it has to take a journey into life outside the womb. Interesting, because there's chaos. That's why you call it labor and everything, because you're pressing, you're coming through the canal to come out. And when you come out, voila. So it's just interesting, and I just thought about something as you were talking. This in this area, going back to the religious complex system. Oh, yeah. This used to bless me because I was so confused. I'm like when I read this in Romans chapter 7, what Paul was talking about. Sis, I'm like, is anybody really reading this, getting this? Because I just like, you know, this dude is jacked up. But I
Chaos.
identify
Romans 7 and 8.
all this chaos, and so it's like 7. It's chapter 7. It's 13. Yes, chapter verse 13. Did that which is righteous then become death to me? What? By no means. But in order that sin might be what recognized as sin, it produced death in me. That process. It produced death in me, though that through that which was righteous, so that through the commandments, sin might be utterly sinful. For we know that the law is spiritual, but I was carnal, sold into the power of sin. For we know for what I know, for I would for what verse 15, for what I would have done that I did not do, but what I hated, that which I did. All this
Yes, Lord.
confusion,
Yes, Lord.
all this chaos, even reading it, it'd be like, huh? Wait a minute. Wait. Verse 16. And if I did what I did not want to do, then I grieve that the law is righteous. And as it was no longer I myself who did it, but that which sin living in me. They told me once I got saved, it's gone.
Come on.
It, you,
Wasn't that in the opening? Didn't I say that? It's a lie.
yeah, it's a lie. Okay, so verse
I have to work
18.
some stuff out now.
For I know that nothing righteous dwells within me. What? I'm supposed to be saved. That is in my flesh. For I had the will to do what was right, but I did not carry it out. What? So now I got to live this lie, pretend like I got everything right. For righteous that what I wanted to do, I did not do. But the evil which I did not want to do, I did it. All that fight with inside, the war on the inside. That's what you was
Chaos.
talking. Chaos. Now, if I did what I did not want to do, it was no longer I who did it, but it was sin living what in me that I did sin in me. What? And here's this, and we see the struggle and the fight, and nobody's being honest. Nobody's just being transparent. Verse 21. So I found this law at work. The evil was present with me, and the very one who wanted to do righteous. I wanted to do righteous, but evil was there in me. Didn't he tell me evil's with me? Oh my goodness. So
Oh,
I
my.
delight in the law of Yahweh according to the inward man. But
Not the outside.
I saw another law working in my members of my body, waging war against the law of my mind, bringing me into captivity of the law of sin, which is in my members. So there's two laws. There's a law of sin of death, and there's a law of righteousness in me. And I'm like, he said, oh, wretched man that I was. Who will deliver me from the body or death, from the body of death? Who gonna deliver me? Thanks be to Yahweh. I have delivered through Yeshua the Messiah, our King. so that with this same mind, I myself serve the law of Yahweh. I make a decision. I'm gonna serve the law while in the flesh that is yet subject to the law of sin. So I want to go to Genesis right quick, and I'm gonna shut up
Come on,
for
brother.
the moment. Genesis chapter 4. Genesis chapter 4, because here's a situation that was taking place when Cain killed Abel. In Genesis chapter 4, and I know some translations say, but here's this. Check this out. Genesis chapter 4, verse 5. But he did not honor Cain and his offering. And Cain was very angry, and his countenance fell. In verse 6. So Yahweh said to Cain, why are you angry? Why are you downcast? Verse 7. Here we go. If you do righteous, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do righteous, sin is crouching at your door. And the desire to sin is with you, but you must overcome it.
Boom. There it is.
You got to overcome because it's there. All this inward, this what we got to fight the inward battle. There's a war rage, there's chaos. Why? There's chaos because who gonna win at the end? Who gonna win at the end of this journey, this chaos, this transition? Because we got this transitioning happening on the inside because we've been lied to. We have. We've been lied to.
Yes, we have.
And so we can see it from the pulpit to the front door to the basement, wherever you got folks standing doing work in the building. You see it with people. We see it with the leaders all the time. The essential so when I was coming up and I read this, I'm like, oh Paul, you my man, because I understand, I get up in church and testify, I thank the Lord for being here, I thank the Lord for being saved, sanctified, and filled with the precious gift of the Holy Ghost, that with a mighty burning fire, and yet at the same time I'm burning in my flesh because I see somebody out there with a miniskirt, and and I see I want to get with this girl after church. What?
Come on.
This war on the inside. Oh, let me change my voice.
I'm over here hollering. Okay.
Ah, I heard myself. Yeah. All right, but anyway, but but as you were stating, we've been lied to. That inward war, that chaos, the chaos, and we see first where it starts. It's the war in our mind, and we begin to act it out in the flesh. It comes out, and we see this, and what have you. We see it on every different levels in the body. We see this. The body is not supposed to be divided against itself. This member against that, but the arm against the leg, because the arm wanted to be dominant over everything. This chaos within me, with the religious complex system, this saying one thing, that saying that, and I'm still dealing with me. At the end of the day, I'm still dealing with me, and I'm confused. I'm perplexed. Don't know what to do. Turned in, turned out. Don't know who I am. None of it. And I find myself daily struggling, struggling. I'm struggling with darkness. I'm struggling with light because now I got to live a lie in front of people. And I remember when I made that declaration, declared with my first handler, I said, I'm tired of living a lie. I can't live this no more. I'm tired. I don't care if you can destroy my reputation. I don't care. I'm tired of living this lie. And y'all begin to let me know you're coming out of the cage, and I'm going to free you from bondage. But I had to go through it. I had to go through it. And it didn't. I went through it with knowing that, I'm going to trust the process. A lot of times we don't trust the process because we don't have the faith. Because and I just thought about my thoughts when you was going about from school, and I remember how it's almost like a child. He's for 4 years he's at home, and on the fifth year he said, "You going to school? What? Go where?" So we want to start teaching you about. So you got to leave home, that environment, and because you're talking about the cry, the tears that the child had. Oh, you going to school? No, 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 no. Yeah, you going to school? You get out of here. So number one, you're taking them out of an environment that says now it's trauma, trauma now, because now you're taking them out of a trusted environment and transitioning your child into a whole environment and you're not there. You saying trust this teacher, trust the situation. You got children, all the children are there. Most of the children are there are feeling the same thing. And it's just like I'm transitioning, but you don't understand the chaos, the trauma that the child is going through because now I'm breaking trust. Now you're telling me the lack of faith begins that journey, this transition. It's just like a guy that's in prison getting ready to go to the death chamber. And he walks that journey knowing at the end of that journey what takes place, death. And that child goes from one stage to another. It's in the chaos because the child mind is like, I'm not at home. You're taking me out of what I normally do. And now we got to orientate him, brainwash the child into a system, into an institution that's different from home. I'm done.
Oh my God. So good. And I love Romans chapter 7. And Paul he is that transparent apostle. He is the transparent apostle because he goes through his process and clearly defines everything so that people will understand you're not out here by yourself, because that's the first thing people want to think. Oh, don't nobody understand. I'm out here by myself. And that's one of the adversary's weapons. It's an adversarial weapon to keep you from opening up your mouth and connecting so that you can, release what it is that you're dealing with so that you'll identify with the fact. But see, first of all, that starts with being in spaces where you need to be. A lot of that comes from isolation. A lot of the stuff that happens in the mind where you are bringing yourself down to a place where you feel like canceling your life and doing all that is a result of isolation. If we are in fact understanding the necessity to be in the right environments, the divine environments, if we take the time to identify and assess those things, then it's very difficult for us to come to that place where we like, oh, I just got to cancel my life. I don't even know what I'm alive for. No, no, no. Some gonna keep you moving, even if you don't have clarity on your identity yet, if you're in a divine environment. And it's an amazing thing because we see, like you mentioned, leadership. We see a lot of flesh in leadership. I see more flesh in leadership than I've ever seen. I promise you, I don't spend a lot of time on Facebook for the fact that I don't want to see all that. I don't want to see these fleshly posts. I don't want to see all that because it's not a way to lead people. What are we leading them to? If every time you express yourself, it's an expression of well, I'm just human. I'm human. So I'm going to say, don't try me, try God. You know what I'm saying? No, we ain't doing none of that because these are not examples of what divinity looks like. And maybe others think that Paul was stuck, completely stuck the rest of his life. He was not. He went through a process. He said, I don't understand this process that I'm undergoing, but I'm able to define what I'm dealing with. Now, as I'm defining what I'm dealing with, I recognize at the end of the day that this is about a decision. I've got to make a decision. I see my cousin in the room. That's my real cousin, my blood cousin. I love you, Rich. I've got to make a decision to choose a side. And that's the thing that we're not looking at because people are spending so much time talking about, oh, It ain't about being perfect. You a lie. It is about being perfect, but perfect is not about not missing things or not ever, stumbling. Perfect is about maturity, and maturation is a result of continual growth. That is perfection to Yah. It's like, and here goes some business acumen, right? So the difference between a person that is successful in business and the person that has great ideas but is not able to execute is the fact that they're perfectionists. So because they're perfectionists, they don't feel like they should release it until it's just like they think that it should be. However, the person that is a successful business mogul, he's going to get a thing to 70 or 80%, maybe 60%, and he's going to release it because he understands that the thing has to go through iterations, right? And because it has to go through iterations, I'm going to release it to you because I want your feedback. So when I get your feedback, I'm going to perfect the thing through the feedback that's given. We don't want to go through the process. And because we don't go through the process, or we're denying process, we are failing horribly, because this is necessary in order for you to become. It's necessary in order for you to become. I know we're going to have to do a part 2 because we haven't even read Genesis 14 or 15. And I'm going to really let this thing rest today. I really want to say a whole lot more, but I'm trying to give y'all bite-sized pieces so that you can go over this, go through it and all of that. But next week, we'll read Genesis 14 and 15. I promise y'all read it this week. And we're going to get into some more things because, listen, this broadcast was commandeered to insert some more things that the Father wanted to discuss. Now, why I think this is so funny this morning is because the Father would not talk to me about what he wanted to talk about at all. He didn't talk to me about it. And normally, I have some ideas. I'm going in a direction. These are things that I've read for a long time. Genesis chapter 14, 15. This book that I'm having discussion about, that I'm discussing Torah out of, is something I've been reading for a very long time. Okay. However, I understand, and this is something that as leaders we must understand, that just because you have read something, just because you know the part that you know, doesn't mean that's the part that needs to be revealed now. It means that something has to grow. So I know this, but I've spoken about this from this perspective. Are we going down the line of having conversation about the information, or are we discussing from a point of transformation? Because people have a lot of information that they don't know what to do with already. But information is for the purpose of transformation. So if we're not bringing transformation and we're still giving messages that are informational, right? Then what are we doing but filling people's head with information or knowledge? But there is no wisdom to execute the thing that's being given. That's fruitless. Knowledge is not power. Executed knowledge is power. And the only way to execute knowledge is through wisdom. Wisdom is knowing what to do about what you know. And if you're just sitting around with a bunch of stuff in your head, which is the religious complex, all day, every day, memorize this, we know this, we can quote this, but can we do it? I'm going to read the last part of the conversation in the introduction because I want to leave you with this, because we're going to close. But we're going to come back for a part 2 next week, called the Chaos Part 2 next week, okay? I'm going to read it, though, one more time, the end part of this conversation, because I want to leave you with this, that today is different. This is why this conversation happened. This is why you were here. Today is different. Today is a day that you're going to confront contradictions within. Romans chapter 7 and 8. Paul's conversation. There is a difference between the law of sin and death and the law of life that brings liberty. This is a decision, right? Today, you're going to recognize, or you're recognizing, that the adversary isn't just a storm outside of you, but the outdated software that's running in your mind. Chaos is your invitation, and creation is your response. That's why I'm leaving it this week. Listen, I love you to life. Remember that you're blessed, and don't forget it. And also remember that the body is not a meat thing, it's a wheat thing. Brother, do you want to say shalom to the people of Yah?
Shalom to each and every one of you, and let the rest of the day enjoy you. And I love you, brothers and sister-in-law, forever.
I love it.